All right, everybody. This is Adam Aldaushi. Thank you again for tuning in and trying to learn something with us here. Today's video, I think, is going to be one of the most important ones that we upload because something I did wrong when I started my investment banking prep is I just kind of went into it blind. I didn't set like a little structured guideline of what I'm going to do, what I need to do, what I need to learn, kind of the steps I needed to take. And I honestly, the reality of it, I didn't have anyone to kind of tell me what I needed to do and like kind of give me advice on what the process should look like. And I think one of these videos are very important for people who are freshmen or sophomores just about to start um, kind of their prep and their path. And I think this video will help you understand kind of the steps to take and exactly what you should prep for and what you should be prepping with. And I'll provide a bunch of resources on the Instagram and stuff like that. But this video is just going to be kind of walking you guys through what you should do before you start the prep. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off by breaking down this investment banking recruiting process into three categories, maybe four if I think of something. But first, you're going to have your behaviorals. That's not spelled right, but we'll figure it out later. Behaviorals essentially are your um your like tell me about yourself, why you want to go into investment banking. It's just they're questions to get to know you and get to understand who you are and why you're here. Who you are and why you are here. Now, the prep for the behavioral interview is very difficult because there isn't a set in stone method of how you should answer a question. It's all just based on your own experiences and the way you articulate yourself. The reason why behaviorals are so important are because these are the questions that if you get them right and you kind of impress your interviewer with your answer to these questions, that's how you set yourself apart, and that's what really gets people the job, in my opinion. So when you go into preparing for behaviorals, this is something that just needs practice. Like you you need to be practicing saying your answers almost every day. Like saying them out loud. Just writing them down isn't enough. Like these are all things you're going to have to say in front of someone else. So kind of my best advice on behaviorals and preparing for behaviorals is one, going online and just finding a pretty like regular list of behavioral questions. You can just look up investment banking behavioral questions, and then we'll also make some videos about some. But have that pulled up, and if you can, have a friend ask you one or two questions a day, and then you give an answer, and then get their feedback from it. Um, that's, in my opinion, the best possible method of doing this, and I think obviously write down your answers with either on a note sheet or with a pen and paper so you can always go back to it and reference what you have written down. Um, this is something that you're going to always have to be fresh and sharp about because if you don't get the behavioral interview down, you're going to have a hard time actually landing the job. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Let's go into the next portion you should be preparing for, and that's going to be the technical interview. Technicals. Okay, so in my opinion, the prep for the technicals are a little more straightforward just because there's so many resources online for this. Um, but for those of you who don't know, in an investment banking interview, there's a technical portion where they'll be asking you math questions and finance questions that you're going to have to show that you prepared for and that you actually put in the time understanding these concepts. And technicals have these different um let's zoom this out a little bit. Let's make it like this big. Technicals have different like levels to them in terms of topics. And the first is going to be accounting questions. Then you're going to have your comps, then your precedent transaction questions, precedents. Then you're gonna have your DCF questions, and then you're gonna have maybe your LBO slash restructuring. And then I think comes along like industry knowledge in this too. Industry knowledge slash recent deals and stuff. That's all I would say there are for the technical portion is that you're gonna have the accounting concepts, your comps, present transactions, DCFs, LBO, maybe restructuring, heavy maybe on this. Like I never got asked an LBO question during my interviews. Again, it depends on the kind of bank you're going to, but for the most part, these are the topics that'll be covered in a technical interview. Um, so yeah, let me go back to my clicker. Why is it doing this? Okay. All right, never mind. We're not gonna. Again, so I think the best method to go about preparing for technicals is using a website called IB Vine. There's a lot of things you can do for technicals. Like you can do the 400 question guide, which is a version of what IB Vine is. But basically, IB Vine is a platform that kind of is like Quizlet, but for all the technical questions you're going to get asked in an investment banking interview. And I can't recommend this website more because this is what I use, and it really helped me so much because you can just go flashcard by flashcard, topic by topic, and just master these questions. And in my opinion, the best way to prep for the technical interview is first understand the concepts, understand accounting, understand the three statements, how they work, how they connect with each other. That's going to be the foundation you're going to build off of. If you don't understand the three financial statements, you're not going to be able to actually understand any of these technical concepts. I recommend any CFI or Wall Street Prep course to kind of get you over that hump of understanding the foundations of um, the technical questions. There's also going to be investment banking insights with Alex Mason. That's a very good podcast where he kind of dives into all the different questions you'll be asked and he kind of breaks each and every single one down. We also want to do something like that, but he already has it done. So for those of you who are more in a rush, that's a really good podcast to go ahead and listen to. Other than that, find a peer and just practice, practice, practice with each other. And you should be good with technicals. And people kind of overcomplicate technicals because they think that's what's going to get them the job. No, it's going to check a box for the interviewer saying, all right, this guy did his preparation. Let me now ask behavioral questions. The technicals check a box, behaviorals get you the interview or get you the job. So I say keep that in mind. Third, people a lot, especially from non-target schools like us here at SCSU, overlook this part of the recruiting process, and that's going to be networking. Now, what I mean by networking is one of the most crucial parts of this entire process. And if it wasn't for it, I wouldn't have gotten my offer, and definitely wouldn't have gotten my offer. And I think the best method of networking is going to be through LinkedIn. And what I mean by this is that on LinkedIn, you can reach out to analysts and associates working at X Bank and kind of set up a coffee chat with them or have a phone call with them. So go on LinkedIn, look up investment banking analysts, press people, and then it'll give you a lists upon lists of investment banking analysts at different banks. I recommend getting LinkedIn Premium for this because it lets you connect with whoever you want and you can send notes to whoever you want, but I think the networking aspect of this whole process is extremely important. And if it wasn't for it, again, I wouldn't have gotten my offer. So, yeah, that's pretty much the three main things I'd say to make sure you understand you have to do. In terms of order, I say prepare your behaviorals every day. Every day, practice two or three questions. Every day, practice your story. Like this shouldn't ever be a thing where like I'll get to it later. I think you should always be practicing at least for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, um, two questions or three questions, something like that. And again, with behaviorals, all you need is a success story, a failure story, a strength story, a weakness story, an answer to tell me about yourself, and then a leadership story. You need 6 stories. If you have 6 stories in your brain about those experiences you've had, you can answer any single behavioral question you'll ever get because you can just reformat those stories to fit the answer to a specific question. And it sounds complicated, but try it, and you'll see that each question can just be answered with a similar story. So get your stories down and have them written somewhere, and then this will make this process a whole lot easier. And then technicals. Technicals is going to be a gradual thing. You're not going to be able to learn one topic a day. It's not. I don't think it's possible, in my opinion. I say allocate an hour or two a day to either taking a Wall Street prep course, CFI course, listening to the podcast, or um, working with a peer on these IB Vine questions. What I did was a mix of all of these. I did all of these. And that's what really got me really prepared for the technical portion of my interview with Lincoln International. There is one more thing. There's an investment banking book. It's just called Investment Banking by Rosenbaum. I don't know if that's how you spell his name, but if you look that up, you'll find the book. That's a really good book. It has all these topics in the book. It's a little more advanced, but it's a good place to get out there. Um, and again, keep up with the industry. Listen to a podcast called Wall Street Journal, What's News. This is a daily podcast that gives you a 10-minute rundown of everything that's happened recently in the financial markets. I think that's sufficient enough for, knowing what's going on. But again, podcasts, I love podcasts. So look for them, do your own research, and this should be more than enough to get you prepared for that technical interview. And then I suggest networking and starting the networking once you have a pretty good foundation of your behavioral questions, because if you're not able to answer these questions, you're going to have a hard time talking to investment bankers. So you don't have to be perfect, but have at least your story perfected, not perfected, but really well written, and you have it down in 2 or 3 of your stories in your brain, I think. Um, I never really got asked technical questions on a networking call, but I'd say if you want to be safe, just have an understanding of the accounting concepts and understand how the 3 statements work or what they are. I think that'd be enough to go into networking. But once you have that, I'd say start your networking process. And if you kind of want some structure on your networking process, if you have any certain banks you want to work at, just focus on networking with people who work at those banks. It's really what's gonna make or break this whole thing. And I can't stress the importance about this enough. It's really so important, and I don't think anyone can really, especially from a non-target, have success if they didn't at least talk to a couple analysts before they went into their super days or their interviews. So I highly recommend doing this. Um, but yeah, I think this is everything you need to know before you start your prep. I don't really think there's anything else. I think this is a really good start and a really good foundation to build off of. And if you, again, this is all a consistency thing. If you stay consistent every single day, not, okay, obviously you can miss days. I miss days, but as long as you stay relatively consistent and you're spending at least an hour a day on this prep and a couple months in advance, you should be perfect. You should be good to go for your interviews. So again, if you have any questions regarding um, you know, any other parts of the recruiting process, be sure to let us know. I know we had someone asking searching for banks. This is a hard part because banks always switch up their application processes and when they release applications. Um, I recommend just doing your own research by looking up um, JP Morgan application release date or something like that. Or you could access Wall Street Oasis. That's a kind of a satire site, but there is some good information on it um, regarding application information. But your best bet to understanding when banks are going to release their applications and when the recruiting process is going to start is going to be through the coffee chats you have, because you're talking to internal individuals within the company who actually know what's going on, and they'll give you the most accurate information. I'll also try to find some very accurate information on application processes, and then we'll post it onto the Instagram. But for now, start with this, and we'll build up from here. And then I'm gonna move this video series into breaking down. I'm gonna go on IB Vine and just pretty much answer each and every question and kind of give an explanation behind the concept of the question. And we'll see if that's successful. And if it's not, we'll pivot to whatever you guys think is more helpful. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know if you have any other questions and let us know if you like this stuff. This is Adam Aldashi. Thank you.